online. Dr. A.T. Kumaraja is joining us via phone right now. I think we were experiencing some difficulty via Skype earlier. Now, Dato, I was asking you the question, with MCO 3.0, businesses are once again affected. And as a person who is in the world of business, how are you reconciling with this, Dato?
This has really been a very tough journey, because there was a very clear entry point, but there's obviously no exit point, and we have already come through this pandemic now, 15th month? And I think the government is also struggling very hard to balance its life versus livelihood. So this MCO 3.0, which was just announced a few days ago, I mean, it is not unanticipated, because we are now closer to 450,000 cases, with 40,000 of them active, closing in 1,800 deaths, and nearly 90% of our health resources being maximized. I think it is a very precarious decision. But as businesses, we would have preferred everything to be normal long before. But now we also agree and we empathize with the government to make sure that we will be able to handle this COVID numbers a lot more better. But again, this MCO 3.0 is a bit different from the previous round, because most economic activities are actually in place, they are running, probably not at full steam, but they are somewhere there, except for a few industries like the restaurants and F&B has been affected slightly. But we are there. And I think we are together with the government in this, because we must have a clear exit point.
Yeah, Dato, just like to explain that you are using your phone because we're having some audio difficulty earlier. Now, the next question is, since MCO 3.0 has started, what are the main grievances within the business circles, especially SME players? They are the ones that have been hit the hardest since the first, whether it's MCO 1, MCO 2, MCO 3. It's a continuous sort of struggle. Perhaps you can share with us.
Yeah, I think that's again testing, right? So government did, once the MCO 1 was announced earlier last year in May, I think within a week, PM stepped in and they announced all the economic stimulus packages. So we heard about Prihatin, Prihatin, and then all of them last year. This year we already got the Perpakasa, and we also got the, Permai. So with 322 billion ringgit in terms of economic stimulus packages, 55 billion of that being fiscal injection, I think the government has able to step up but mitigate some of this, at least for the smaller industries, for the micro enterprises, which is closer to about 1 million enterprises now. And we've got a lot of another cohorts to be identified, the self-employed, the unemployed. So these cohort groups are being supported. As far as the SMEs are concerned, I think there is again this one single grievance is maybe the flow from the top in terms of this assistance and the emergency packages is not been as forthcoming, because the banking institutions, so the finance institutions are working on a very business as usual approach, and that business as usual approach has not really escalated very down to us, because that we haven't experienced the pivot that help that the government wants to do.
Now, there are calls for a moratorium, another moratorium, tax relief, cash aid, as F&B businesses struggle to stay afloat during MCO 3.0. But BNM says no automatic loan moratorium is to be implemented in this 3.0 MCO. Now, they have to contact the bank for targeted assistance. How is the business community reacting or adapting to this, Dato?
That's actually, that's $1 billion question, Elaine, because actually we have done a lot of work. So we've done a lot of work, and we still want to say, look, you look at the government in terms of what they want to do. Government has stepped up and says, look, we must have what is called, say, for example, the special relief fund, or the funds that have been cascaded down from banks for the national, the national, or even agro banks and all that. But all those money, has it really gone to the targeted group? Is it for the distressed group? I think that has not really happened. So this moratorium, I think government must step in now with another moratorium. Yes, banks actually say, look, we actually got 1.6 million applications, we approved 95% of them, and 45% of them are actually for those who are reduction, and 55% for postponement. But with all that so-called good news, I think the businesses that are in distress are not really getting the money. For example, if you look at the numbers that the banks have made, in the year 2020, full-blown pandemic, $62 billion has been made. So if you look at the numbers that the banks are posting, even Just last week, right? So a friendly neighborhood bank actually posted first quarter profits of 1.5 billion, which is higher than the last year. How is it possible that the banks are still continuing to make higher profits than previous years, whereas their customer, the biggest stakeholder in this, actually is not making that kind of money? So I think the banks must step in with a newer approach. I think Bank Negara, and this has to be a national initiative, because when the banks were in distress in 2007, 2008, I think the government stepped in, the nation stepped up in Dana Harta and Dana Jamin and all that to help the financial institutions. I think the financial institutions have a moral right to actually start putting up the businesses and the SMEs. Doesn't matter even if it's a personal loan. They must actually step up. And I think that moratorium must come back into play.
Now, Dato', we're closing this session, but your final message to Malaysians celebrating Raya.
Okay, Selamat Hari Raya. I think this is a very unique time. I think with staying home, staying safe, and I think the responsibility not only on us to make sure that we as a nation come out of this pandemic in a lot more better way than we started with off it. And Selamat Hari Raya to everybody, and Selamat Hari Raya to you.
Thank you so much. That was, of course, Dato' A.T. Kumaraja, Secretary General of the Malaysian Association Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, MICI, calling us on the phone because we had a bit of audio technical difficulty earlier. Now, the activities of